Oil and gas we've been developing and producing for quite some time, and many people in this forum are either connected to that business directly or touched by it, either through the services they provide or the material they bring to make sure that that business continues to grow. And we have grown quite substantially. Our production today in terms of black oil and condensate is just over 1 million barrels. In fact, we can go up to 1.2 million if it wasn't for the COP reduction of production that we are conforming to. So our potential is bigger than what we're doing today. Gas, of course, we're also producing, and we're doing about 140 to 150 million cubic meter a day. A third of that gas is being exported globally through the LNG terminal in Sur. But that's the traditional business. We have also embarked quite aggressively on the new business, and that is the renewable energy and hydrogen. For renewable energy, of course, we have committed, and His Majesty committed, that Oman will reach a net zero by 2050. These are not empty words. Before we make that announcement, we had very specific plans. We understood exactly where the emissions are coming from. 95% of the emissions come from industry, electricity generation, transportation, and oil and gas business. The remaining 5 come from agriculture and a bit of fisheries and so on. Urban planning keep coming in and out, but I keep saying urban planning is sorted if we can sort the electricity and the transportation sector, because that's what urban planning does. It's either they're emitting from power consumption or they emit from transportation. So between electricity and transportation, urban planning will be fixed, but of course there are other things we need to do in terms of energy efficiency and so on. And we have worked the details to at least reduce 50% of that emission from activities that we know how to execute today. The remaining 50%, and this is why it's a challenge, will have to be done through things that we have absolutely no idea how we will do it, whether it's technology, whether it's reduction, and so on. But we are still committed to achieve net zero by 2050. The last 7% we believe will be a struggle, but forestation and other solutions can help us to get to net zero by 2050. Now, net zero doesn't mean you don't emit anything, but you balance your emission from whatever you take off the environment. And of course, that drove a lot of activities, particularly in the renewable energy business. We are committed to achieve at least 30% of our electricity generation from renewable energy by 2030. I know sometimes you hear 20, sometimes you hear a different number. The easiest number to remember would be 30-30. 30% by 2030. And so far we are on track to achieve that. Now, of course, that means we have to do a lot. And the biggest challenge we face, and this is where this collective brain power can probably come and help, is the energy storage. Because if we rely on the sun and the wind, they can only generate power when the wind is blowing and the sun is shining. But when the sun goes away and the wind is not blowing, then we have to rely on something different. And that's why energy storage is extremely important for us to achieve this. And we're working extremely hard to identify sources of energy storage. Our primary objective is to identify sources that are local to Oman. And of course, there will be some elements of importation. Everybody knows lithium batteries and whatever can be of an assistance. But we're looking for local solutions. And we know that we have local solutions. We just need to develop them. So hopefully by end of this year or maybe Q1 of next year, we will announce our energy storage strategy. That takes me, and of course, we should be achieving 100% by 2050. But once we get to 30%, I think the journey from that point on should be easier. That takes me to the hydrogen part, and as some of you probably have heard or maybe even participated, we have allocated over 65,000 square kilometers of land for the purpose of producing renewable energy, of which 50,000 square kilometers is for renewable energy. Now, the 50,000 square kilometers, for those who don't know, what does it actually mean in terms of producing electricity? Oman today has a capacity of generating around 11 gigawatt. It's not a big number, but that's what we need. That's what we can generate. 50,000 square kilometers, if we consume all the land, will generate anywhere from 500 to 700 gigawatt. That's a lot of power, a lot of electricity. It's definitely more than what we can consume, not only in Oman, but the entire GCC and probably half the Indian requirement. And we need to do something with that. Now, if I only take you to 2030, because this is extremely big, the magnitude of the businesses that will be generated is significant. And I will tell you later on what is my biggest concern. But if you just look at what does it take to achieve at least the 2030 target, and the 2030 target from a hydrogen production point of view is to generate about 1.5 million tons of hydrogen. To generate about 1.5 million tons of hydrogen, we think we need about 30 gigawatt of renewable energy. To do so, we need over 300 million solar panels. We need over 10,000 wind turbines, over 5,000 plus electrolyzers. We're going to be building more than 300 to 400 kilometers of hydrogen pipeline, water pipeline, and some special electricity grid dedicated only for the green hydrogen production, because we don't want to connect with the rest of the country. We want it to be completely isolated so that the certification is easy. These numbers are mind-boggling. We've never done anything like this before. If I add up, and assuming, of course, everything is executed and successful, if I add up the investment required to deliver the 1.5 million ton, including, of course, the infrastructure, it's close to $60 billion. That's a lot of money. The oil and gas is doing about $11+ billion every year. We have to spend over $60 billion from now until 2030. Nothing is happening this year, next year, or the year after in terms of big investment, because we're just allocating the land, some of it. A lot of studies are taking place. They don't spend a lot of money. They probably will be spending a few hundred million, but not a lot. So the bulk of the investment is going to take place from 2026, 27 until 2030. You have about 5 years where $60 billion will have to be invested. And this is where my biggest concern is. Number one, do we have the executive capacity to execute such project and spend that much money? We have never done this before in Oman. And do we have the construction community that will be able to execute these projects? If I stand here today and look at the future, I say, with the resources we have today in Oman, we cannot deliver these projects in time. We don't have enough. Despite the big companies that we have here in Oman, local and international, they are not enough to execute the projects that we want to execute between 2026, 27 until 2030. And of course, 2030 is not the end of the game, because we keep adding new allocation of land every year. In fact, we have an ongoing auction process as we speak, and hopefully in Q1 of next year we will announce the new winners. We already started this journey and announced some winners early this year and late last year. That's a lot of investment, and that's a lot of activities. Not to mention, of course, the fact that we are also going as strong as always with regards to our traditional business. The oil and gas continues to drill wells. Next year we will probably be drilling over 1,500 wells. PDO alone will be drilling its record number of wells, over 1,000 wells in 1 year. And the other companies will probably be also increasing their activities in terms of drilling. So that business is ongoing. The LNG, we're looking into an option of expanding. So if I add them all up, we're going to be extremely challenged to execute all of them from a construction point of view, material availability, resources, capabilities, inspections, wiring, the whole gamut, whichever sector you look at. If we are to execute the plans that I've just spelled out, then we're going to be running like headless chicken trying to get things sorted out. And that's a very good problem to have. That's why I'm not growing a lot of gray hair very fast. In addition to that, of course, we're also looking into where is the international market that will consume all of this hydrogen. And trust me, we're working extremely hard to try and find the market, and there will be few announcements that you will hear very soon. In fact, tomorrow, I'm traveling to meet one of the companies that could potentially revolutionize the way we transport hydrogen, and we'll keep everybody posted, of course. Then let me get into the other sort of business that keeps us very busy, which has at the moment very little contribution to the economy, and that is the mining business. The mining business, as probably some of you know, and I'll be very honest, I don't think we gave it the right attention. We did not manage it well. 90%, 85% to 90% of our mining business today is nothing but building material. Building material is not mining business. The real mining business is the metallic metals, is the nickel, the cobalt, the chrome, the copper, the gold associated with the copper if we can separate it, and so on. And that's why when mining was passed over to the Ministry of Energy and Minerals, and of course we changed our name as a result, we were all scratching our head, what is the Ministry of Oil and Gas and Electricity got to do with mining? And of course it comes with a bag of issues that needs to be sorted. And the first thing we did is said, let us do what we know how to do. We know how to run oil and gas. And we've been running the oil and gas business extremely successful over the last 50 years because we manage the business in a way that is very transparent, very open, and we go to the market to tell us how we do things. But we know what we had before was not working. So we stopped the entire system, everything. And we said, as far as the metallic minerals are concerned, the market is saying the land allocation process is extremely wrong and you have to fix it. So we fixed it. The mine allocation process now for metallic mineral is the same auction process that we have developed in the oil and gas. So it's going to be a concession base, large size. Historically, it was less than 5 kilometers. There's nothing much you can do with 5 kilometers if you're looking for metallic minerals. You either get it or you don't, and if you do, it's going to be a very small quantity. There's not much you can do with it. Now, of course, we increased the land size to a few thousand kilometers square. And we created a concession area around it, which gives the developer the access right to the land for over 30 years, which means you start exploring and looking for where the minerals are. You have access to all the minerals, where before it was limited to a single mine. Now you have access to all the minerals. Explore, and whatever you find, you have the right to develop. And you have the entire land to identify where the minerals exist so that you can aggregate the volume, create enough volume to be able to industrialize and create a real business out of it. And we have already started this process. We allocated 12 or 13 concession areas to Mineral Development Oman to get us moving, and then we started going to the market. Late last year, we signed a concession area for nickel and cobalt exploration in the Sharqiya region. Also, early this year, we've signed 4 concession areas for potash and lithium, We currently have three or four concession areas in the market being auctioned, and I think we're almost finalized. We're reviewing the bids dedicated to copper and other metallic minerals. So we're pushing ahead with this strategy, and it seems to be working. So hopefully we can grow this business. It will take some time, but over the next 4 or 5 years, actually, if I look forward, I can say that the entire mining industry in Oman will be completely revolutionized. That, of course, takes us back again to what about the traditional building material stuff and the traditional marble business. So for those industrial material, or we have moved away from the individual land allocation requested by the developer to more of a common site where the ministry will go and identify the appropriate locations, big enough, study it, design it, plan it, and then allocate the plot to the market in an auction base, where those who have the technical capability and the financial capability can win the project, not individuals like me and others and so on. If you have the technical capability and the financial capability, then that's what it takes to win business as far as the Ministry of Energy and Minerals is concerned. The same strategy is taken from oil and gas to renewable energy to mining. And we think it's a recipe that has proven itself, it's been tested, and it's successful. Of course, the numbers I've shared earlier does not include mining. If we start including mining, then the numbers will go even bigger. And as you know, mining is all about construction. So there will be a lot of other activities in the construction, but there are a lot of things that we need to fix. Mining is also logistic in nature. So we're trying to fix the logistical part as well and introduce new technologies for logistic. Automation, clean tracking system, proper monitoring, inspections, and so on. And that hopefully will elevate the entire business. So if I just conclude by saying just the business that I'm in charge of, if I look at oil and gas, renewable energy, hydrogen, and minerals, over the next 5 years, I think it's going to be extremely big, and it's already started. And we're not slowing down. In fact, if anything, we're going extremely fast. Some have accused us of going much, much faster than what the industry can do. But again, that's a very good problem to have, and it's good for a change that the industry is trying to catch up with the government. And with that, I really wish you a very successful 2-3 days. Thank you very much for inviting me and giving me the time to at least spell out some of the things that we're doing in the Ministry of Energy and Minerals. And I wish you a successful event. Thank you very much.